welcome to the channel. My name is Charles, and if you are struggling to lose weight on a plant-based diet, or really any diet, and you want to understand how to get lean and how many calories you should be eating and what kind of foods to be eating, all of that good weight loss stuff, then stick around because this is the channel for you. So I've lost nearly 40 pounds eating the way that I do now, and this is after struggling with my weight for over a decade. I went from looking like this after I had my second daughter, being so depressed about my weight, really struggling because I could not face doing another diet where I felt restricted, to now looking like this, being in the best shape of my life even after 2 kids. I didn't actually lose weight when I went vegan though. I was struggling with my weight for a really long time, even as a vegan. So in this video, I wanted to share with you 5 things that I wish I knew 2 years ago. It's really coming up 3 years ago at the start of this weight loss journey, because I've had a lot of weight loss journeys and none of them have lasted, but the one that matters, this one right here, these are the 5 things that I wish I knew at the very beginning, or really for the last 10-15 years that I've been trying to lose weight, that would have helped me so much and get to this point so much quicker, and I think they're going to help you too. So the first thing that I wish I had understood at the start of my weight loss journey that would have got me to this point a lot quicker was that calories really do matter for fat loss. It was really confusing for me back in the day because I started watching YouTube videos and I found a lot of vegan influencers that it was kind of like the two camps where people seemed like they didn't really care about what they were eating. They weren't really talking about weight loss, but they were slim, so I was like, oh, I want to know what they're eating. Or it was people who were promoting a raw diet or a really high carb, low fat diet as a way to get slim while still eating huge portions of food. And I remember being really confused about this, even though I read books like the Raw Bible, which is 80-10-10, and he actually explains in that book, like, I don't think it's a bad book at all, about the fact that most of the time a raw diet helps people lose weight because their overall calorie consumption gets lower. But this wasn't the message that I was hearing from people online. It was actually quite a conflicting message where it was telling, like, you have to eat you have to eat like 3,000 calories a day. You better make sure that you're eating like so much so that you don't get a broken metabolism. And then I'd watch other videos from people who would be saying, well, I tried eating like this and I actually gained a ton of weight and it doesn't work. And so I was really conflicted because I didn't understand any kind of framework into why someone could eat so much and look slim and have abs, and why it wouldn't work for someone else. I didn't understand that. So I was stuck in this very like all in or all out cycle because I didn't understand that the reason that anyone loses weight is because they get into a calorie deficit and that they lower their calorie consumption, that all these people that I were following, their diet was working for them if and only if they were able to get into a calorie deficit. And for the people that it didn't work, that is the reason. So I didn't have this framework, I didn't understand that. And then what happened was I would just go all out anytime that I failed because I thought I had to follow the rules, and I didn't understand that calories are really what matters when it comes to losing weight. And this is where I see a lot of people getting into trouble because they will come and say, hey Charles, I've been doing everything right. I've been following the starch solution. I've been doing a raw diet. I've been eating how you eat, and I'm still not losing weight. And I'm like, you're still looking at this like it's rules. You're still looking at like, if I follow the rules, then I will get the result. And it isn't like that at all. The only thing that will bring you that result is getting into a calorie deficit. And because we all have slightly different metabolisms and we eat slightly different foods and we have different energy needs, that's gonna look different for different people. As an individual, that's gonna look different. What matters is not that you are right or wrong, or that you are 100% perfect or you're not. It matters that what you're doing is effective. Once I had an effective strategy for how weight loss works, I was able to understand what to eat. I was able to have that flexibility, make empowered decisions, and get to this goal. And I know one of the things that held me back for a long time was I was scared that I was going to break my metabolism. This is not true. There is no scientific evidence behind this idea that you can break your metabolism or go into starvation mode. And if you want to hear more about that, I did a super in-depth podcast on it, so you can go and listen to that down below. The second thing that I had wished I'd known in my entire 10 years of dieting is that potatoes are flippin' fantastic for fat loss. And if you love potatoes, put a little potato emoji down below. I want to see. Potatoes are one of the most amazing things for fat loss because feeding into the first thing I wish I'd known, they are actually relatively low in calories. Potatoes work out at about 400 calories per pound. And when you compare this to something like chocolate, which is around 2,500 calories per pound, you start to go, okay, I can eat a lot of food for not really very much calories. Like I'm gonna get really, really full on a few baked potatoes, and I'm not going to do that on crackers. So I started eating a ton of potatoes at the start of my weight loss journey, and I actually did something called the potato reset, which you can go and watch this video later on if you want to see a little bit about the potato reset and how it was kind of the kickstart to my weight loss journey. Not because it's magical, just because it got me into a calorie deficit. And in that first month that I started to change my diet to be a lot more vegetables, a lot more potatoes, I lost 8 pounds in that first month, and I went from looking like this to this, which is not a huge change, but I remember being so stoked and so excited that I was finally doing something and starting to see results. Another amazing thing about potatoes are they are incredibly satisfying, and when you're wanting to increase your consistency, which I'll talk a little bit about later on, then you want to be eating foods that is satisfying, that you can eat and not be thinking about food for a few hours, or not be needing to go and have an ice cream after dinner. You want to get full and satisfied. So potatoes are excellent for doing that. And in the beginning of my weight loss journey, when I finally understood about calories and I understood that my goal was to lower the calories in my diet to get into that calorie deficit, I just went to town on them, and I still eat a ton of sweet potato to this day. I can smell some cooking in the oven right now. They're going to be bomb. The third thing that I wish I'd known at the beginning of my weight loss journey was that exercise wasn't really going to help me lose weight, particularly cardio. And the reason for this is that when you think about the fact that you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight, that you must be consuming less calories than you burn, then one of the ways that you would logically think to do that is to increase the amount of calories that you burn through exercise. But if you have a look at your energy output, which is the calories that you burn, exercise only actually makes a really small amount of this. It's normally only about 5%. And you can imagine for some people it's even less. Your basal metabolic rate, however, takes up about 60% of your calorie burn, and that is relatively fixed. There's a few things that are going to change it, mostly to do with how big you are and whether you are like 200 pounds or whether you are 120 pounds is going to affect your basal metabolic rate. But there's not really much you can do about that on a day-to-day basis. And then your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is your movement, and it's otherwise known as NEAT, that takes up another little chunk of your calorie burn. And then the thermic effect of food is a really, really small amount of your calorie burn, and that's the calories that it takes to actually digest your food. So when you're trying to actually increase the amount of energy that you are expending, when it comes to exercise, what often happens is that you increase the amount of exercise that you're doing. So let's say that you increase the amount of exercise so that you go for a 400 calorie run and you burn 400 calories extra in your day. Now, that's fine. You've added exercise, so you'd think, okay, now I'm in a calorie deficit, but that's going to assume that all other things stay the same. And what most often happens is you have a slight increase in hunger, which means that you will be eating slightly more calories than you normally would. And you also have a decrease in your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So you just move less. And I'm sure you can understand or think about times that this has happened to you, where you've done like a big run or you've gone and like smashed it out in the gym doing tons of cardio, tons of HIIT workouts. And then the rest of the day, you probably just want to like lie on the couch and maybe even have a nap. So what kind of ends up happening is that even though there might have been an initial bump in calories that you burn, you have these kind of compensatory mechanisms that mean that really you don't get a calorie deficit there from exercise alone, unless you are moving over that threshold where your body is not going to be able to compensate enough. And that's like an hour of exercise a day. I mean, even more. Like maybe like if you're burning 1,000 calories in a workout. And if you want a really in-depth look at why this is the case, I did a podcast episode on it, so you can go check that out. I've linked it in the description. I think that this is something that's really hopeful because it means that you don't have to kill yourself with exercise to get to your goals. You can actually exercise because it's a great thing to do, and you can do things that you love. You don't have to do the most high calorie exercise on the planet because it's really not going to be helping you lose weight unless your nutrition is on point. It's so freeing to be able to work out for building muscle and building strength, and even for your mental health. Now, please do not take this that I'm saying that you should not do cardio. Cardio is incredibly good for your health. But what I am saying is to remember that first thing, that you must be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. And there are these compensatory mechanisms that occur when you try to add exercise as the only way to change that energy balance and actually get into a calorie deficit. So focus on your nutrition first, use exercise for your health, and when it comes to actually how any kind of exercise is going to affect how you look, the best thing you can do for your body is strength training. Okay, the fourth thing, I am starting to sweat, that I wish I had known at the start of my weight loss journeys was that a lot of the food that is health food is not weight loss food. A lot of the food that I saw vegan influencers eating and that I saw promoted online, while very healthy, was never going to help me lose weight. And these are things like having like a ton of cashew cream. I would be eating coconut milk all the time, like most of my meals. Shocking for me to think about now, but most of my meals had like 2 tins of coconut cream. I challenge you, go and have a little look at the label of coconut cream if you use that in your cooking and see how high in calories that is. 1 cup of coconut cream is about, actually 1.5 cups is about 800 calories. So you can see how like even a single serving of something like a curry from a Thai restaurant is going to be a 1,500 calorie meal once you add in oil and rice and all these other things that go into it. So I was seeing people eating these super high calorie foods that are promoted as health foods, tons of nuts and things, and I was trying to eat like that because that's what was healthy, but it was never ever going to help me lose weight because it was simply too high in calories. And here's the thing, remember what I talked about, the fact that what matters when it comes to your weight loss is that what you're doing is effective. It's not about getting it necessarily 100% right or 100% wrong, or this is much more like a spectrum, but the most important thing is that you're doing something that is working for you. So a lot of people that we see online, like they seem like they can eat things like lots of cashew creams and coconut milks and 10 banana smoothies. I know that I can't and stay this way. It just doesn't work for me. I will gain weight if I keep eating like that. So for me, it was really understanding that I needed to stop focusing on what other people were doing, focus on what I knew to be true, because I don't know their history. I don't know what they're eating every single day of their lives. I don't know their metabolism. It's kind of irrelevant to me. I was looking at them to be the gospel for how weight loss works, when instead I should have been looking at scientific law, which is that you must reduce your calories if you want to get into a calorie deficit and burn stored fat. The fifth thing that I wish I knew at the start of my weight loss journey is that I needed a proven strategy for changing myself. So once you understand the basics of weight loss, once you understand what to eat, how to get into a calorie deficit, how to tweak your diets, yes, these are the basics, then what's going to come next is this kind of like disconcerting area where you know everything that you're meant to be doing in theory and you don't do it. And I have people that message me all the time, bless their souls, and I've been there myself, and they'll say things like, I know what to do, I've read the books, I've read the Starch Solution, I've read How Not to Diet, I understand every single thing you are saying, and I can't stick to it. What is my problem? Why do I have such low willpower? And I want to give you an analogy to answer that. You would not try and lose weight simply by looking at a Dorito and looking at an Oreo and being like, I'm gonna willpower this into being lower in calories. I'm gonna willpower this into working. You don't do that. You find a strategy that actually works. Well, hopefully you find a strategy that is proven to work, that is proven to get you going in the direction that you want to go, and then you stick to it, right? You work with what you know to be true. But what happens when it comes to behavioral change is people will try to use basically no strategy at all, or nothing that is actually based in real, concrete, scientific evidence of how people change, and instead they'll try and use willpower, or they'll try and use the same kind of patterns that they've always used. They'll try harder most of the time. I wish I'd understood in the beginning that the reason that I constantly failed was not because I was a failure. It was because I was trying to change in a way that is just not how humans change. I don't think you need to read a ton of weight loss books or watch every single YouTube video out there and be just so entrenched in your mind about every single aspect of how weight loss works. Because at the end of the day, if you know it all and you can't apply it, how does it help you? Once you do understand the basics, you need to invest in developing habits. But just so you can take away something super actionable from this little thing that I wish that I'd known, one of the most important things that I wish I'd known was how to take a next obvious step. So in the program that I run, Lean with Plants, we have like little accountability groups. And so people will meet together every single week, and the whole exercise of meeting with that small group of women is to figure out what's your next obvious step. Because there are a million things that you can do. You can go finish watching this video and you can apply what you've learned here, or you won't. What's going to matter is that you do the next obvious little thing, that you don't get overwhelmed by all the things, and you just apply what that pivotal little thing is that is going to get you making progress. And this is super helpful when you're doing anything that feels really difficult or it feels overwhelming and just too big. It breaks it down into something small and actionable so that you don't have to do everything or think about everything at once. And I'll give you an example that I'd used even today. I didn't want to film this YouTube video. I find YouTube videos really hard and intimidating a lot of the time. And I knew that the obvious little step for me to get just closer to putting my camera on was to put a little bit of makeup on. I knew that I would feel more confident. I knew that I would feel like I was more ready to film a YouTube video, and through doing that little obvious step, not worrying about every single thing with filming a video, just that little step, I am now filming this video. The members in Lean with Plants have seen phenomenal results from using this. It is an incredibly powerful thing. I use it every single day, and think about how that can apply to what you need to do next. Make it so tiny that it's not difficult. Schedule that into your calendar and start smashing out some progress. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it really helpful, and wherever you are in your weight loss journey, that you can take something away from today. If you are wanting to learn more about Lean with Plants, the program is actually opening really soon on the 27th of July. It will be open for 5 days, and then we will close the doors. You won't be able to join anymore. So if you're wanting to get into that and learn these two super key things, the first one being what to eat, how to get into a calorie deficit that works for you and your body, not a rule-based system, not an eat like me, just something that is going to get you working in the right path, that is also healthy, that is going to get you to your goals. And then the second one being that is going to teach you the proven methods of habit change, which have worked for hundreds of our members now. Then jump in, join the Lean with Plants fam. You can see all of that information in the description thingy. I will see you guys next week. All right, that's a wrap.